to Candyman, a podcast where we're not talking about the original Candyman, where Virginia Madsen claims she was hypnotized for some of the film scenes. I'm Alex.
What? We're coming down to it in more ways than one, folks.
Here. Yeah, for sure.
Because I'm mad for Madsen, and I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
We are actually going to be talking about Sweet Tooth, Season 3, Episode 7, The Road Ends Here. And then later on in the episode, we're going to be reviewing Mike and Ike's.
Come on!
And we all have different opinions on it already, but I guess we'll see how it tastes when we stick it in our mouths.
Definitely a penultimate candy for us to cover. Mike and Ike's.
Yes. Well, again, we had a pretty furious text chain about this and what we should be trying. Pete was a big fan of candy buttons. You were pushing those.
Dots, you asshole, dots.
I don't know. You were like, let's peel some page
Charleston
off the
Chews, Chico Sticks. You guys don't know anything, man.
Right. You grew up in the 1920s,
one of those is
right?
made up. Yeah.
High Chews. You guys wanted nothing to do with any of that.
There's too many. Well, let's not get into this. Let's talk about this episode instead, because we are at the second to last episode ever of Sweet Tooth. And in this episode, it's all coming together.
Get your
even
Kleenex.
Kind of split apart. We've got Jepp, Birdie, and Gus are headed to the cave to try to find out what caused the sick and the hybrid kids. By the end of the episode, they do find it out. It's a weird tree that caused it, and particularly Thacker.
A deer tree.
A deer tree. Oh, my dear tree. And Thacker taking an axe and chopping into the tree. That seeped into the groundwater, caused the sick, etc., etc. There you go. Lots of other stuff goes on there that I'm sure we'll get to in a second. Meanwhile, Singh, Zhang, and her crew are also headed to the cave. They ultimately make it there, leading to a climactic death that we will talk about as well. But back at the outpost, they're trying to start up the beast, the big snowplow.
Yeah, the biggest snowplow.
The drill, you asshole. It's the fucking drill.
Yeah,
it's a neck plow, Alex.
I realized, this is crazy. Neck. Last episode, nobody said snowplow. Lisa needs braces, which is weird.
Dental plan.
Yeah,
Lisa needs braces.
Yes. Anyway, so they're trying to start up the beast, and meanwhile, the survivors of the outpost are rallying back to take them down. A couple of things go wrong there, and ultimately, the handsomest man in the world takes the beast and drives directly towards the cave. So, by the end of the episode, and the bigger spoiler here, Birdie saves Gus at the cost of her own life. She gets stabbed by Singh, and that's how we end the episode, with her dying in the cave, the beast headed towards the cave, and all coming down to the final episode. One thing I want to start with, can we start with the end, actually?
No, well, if we're going to start with the end, we got to at least say that the feint that's been going on this whole episode, where they make it feel like Jepp is going to die the whole time. Like, as soon as the opening starts, I was like, oh, fuck, it's Jepp. Jepp's eating it at the end of the episode. And then you get that amazing turn, and it's really, I think it,
well,
is that what you mean?
Yeah, like you were saying, we start off with this incredible scene of Jepp back at his football days, and it's probably his final game, sitting in the locker room waiting to go out on the field. Everybody's talking about, like, can he do it? He's too old. Can he make it? There's even a very telling chyron on the TV that says Jepp's last stand, ? And you're like, yeah, he's going to die this episode 100%.
Well, I mean, it's so crazy that beginning. First, the line that comes through so strong at the end, you don't have something to live for until you have something to die for.
Oh, my God. Come on, dude.
Nice thematic there. But the way this episode was laid out, from that cold open into the scene with Jeppard in the cabin, it was like Jepp was the reality game show contestant that's definitely going home at the end of the episode, where they're just like, hey, my life is good. I am from Cleveland. And then it's like, oh, you're done. You're going to fail at Top Chef today, or Survivor, or whatever. But it was a great turnaround.
The whole episode, you're like, Jepp, you got one more adventure in him. No, he doesn't. I don't think he can make it. And then it's like,
he's jumping on
ice.
In the episode,
I was like, he can't jump on the rocks. He can't do this
with your bum knee. Come on.
But here's the thing. The way they're treating this knee is like, this knee is going to murder him. And I'm just like, when you have a bad knee, it just hurts all the time. It doesn't kill you. You just don't walk.
No.
He also got shot. And there's just a bullet floating around.
But the thing about the knee is, like, particularly with the jumping on the rocks, they have this whole thing, which I do think they say it out loud, but it's a great callback with Gus being like, "Oh, I used to jump over rocks like this in the stream near where I lived in Yellowstone," and I thought that was neat. That was neat to throw it in there. This very
his skill is rock jumping.
Indiana Jones, very like Tomb Raider puzzles type cave that they're going into.
Yeah.
Yes, Justin.
I was gonna say
later.
No, you said Indiana Jones, and I was just going to say Goonies is where I was.
Yeah, that's a good reference point, for sure. All I was going to say just about the knee thing is like, it gives out. Like, I understand what you're saying about it hurting, but we've seen multiple times where he's running and his knee collapses essentially because of the pain and he falls down. So I do think I agree with Pete here. The entire time, the tension of that scene is like, how are you going to jump on these rocks? What are you doing right now? And the way that they set it up with him going third, Birdie jumps across, is a little trouble, but does it fine. And then I do think they did a nice bit of character management with Gus hopping and Jepp going right behind him versus like, I don't think we need to do this 3 times. So that was
that was good.
But he could have gone out at any time. The question that I had about the end, though, jumping to the end, is so the scene is Singh, as he has promised for several episodes, is like, I got to sacrifice Gus.
I'm going to murder Gus because I had a dream one time.
I had a dream about a blood sacrifice. That's how we're going to heal everything, the sick, even though Birdie and Jepp and Gus have already realized all you got to do is take the axe out of the tree and you're good to go. So Gus probably doesn't actually have to die, but Singh very slowly walks up, starts to stab the knife. Jepp breaks out, jumps in front, but Birdie jumps in front of him and she gets stabbed. And then Gus also breaks out and goes down and covers Birdie. My question for you guys, just because I'm not familiar with this kind of stuff, do knives have more than one charge in them? Or can you just like, do you just get one, was that a one stabber?
No, there's no such thing with knives. So you can, unless it breaks. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it's funny because he's like, oh, God, and then everybody stops and just staring like, well, I can't keep doing this. A lady has died, and I was trying to kill a child, not a woman who's also a scientist. My God, what have I done?
I was down with the child killing, but a woman? Oh, no.
Let's all stop and rethink about this.
I'm a henchman with a heart of gold, if you haven't guessed, and I'm going to release everyone as soon as the plan goes wrong.
I must have cried like 8 different times in this episode because I thought Jepp was dying, and it was like...
You love Jepp.
Yeah, and every time he was given like Gus's speech, and like the mom was like, "You're so good with him," and I was like, "Stop! He's gonna die, and you guys all know it's coming, and this is killing me." I was like, "No," and then the twist. When I was so shocked, but I wasn't happy because I was like, "Oh my God," But also Jepp's face when he sees the mom for the first time was like, "Wait a second," like, "Oh, just gets you."
Yeah. And let me just say, I know, Pete, that if you ever twist your ankle or whatever, I'm supposed to put you down, right?
No.
As soon as any part of your leg is hurt.
As long as you express any sort of pain.
Let's just get this out of the way.
Ouch! I pulled a hammy.
Neither one of you are in charge of me like that. Okay, there's no going. I'm not.
Just to be clear, Pete. Just to be kind to you, I won't use a knife because I know you can only use those things one time.
Oh my God!
Yeah. I'm sorry, Pete. I had a dream that I killed you when you got a sliver in your toe.
That doesn't. Just because you have a dream doesn't mean you get to do murder. That's not how.
I'm sorry. That's not what this show is telling me. Well, I actually have a question before we move off this, because that's a great take, Alex. My take on the end was Singh slowly putting his knife forward, and it looks like Birdie jumps in front. But are we sure that Jepp didn't pick Birdie up and put him?
Oh, come on, man!
Because the way
that's
it looks,
fucked up, dude.
The way it looks is sort of like,
don't say that about
Jepp's
Jepp.
like has his hands on her shoulders, and I was like, is she a little shield, a Jepp shield?
How dare you?
They even had the scene out there where Jepp broke out, ran across the room, grabbed Birdie, ran back and front.
Here, you.
Like,
he's fast. Yeah. Listen, the scene where like he blows out the candle and then they zoom out on the sweet tooth thing, I was like, he is so dying. They're really putting it on thick.
Maybe the actor.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Maybe the actor who plays Jepp was like, I know I'm supposed to die in the script, but I'd actually like to stay on for the last episode. And he just pushed Amy Simons in front of the knife.
Maybe he did, and she actually died. And next episode, he's going to take all of Birdie's lines.
Yeah.
And,
I love you, Ghost. I'm your mother.
Crikey! Yeah,
You guys having fun? This is an emotional episode and very beautiful, and you guys are just,
No, I love this episode. And the thing that I wanted to say critically about this moment is logically what happens there at the end. This is kind of why I'm making fun of it. None of it makes sense to me. Like, Singh is not that strong of a guy. Jepp 100% at the same time, instead of being like, jumping in front of Gus, could have bowled him over, knocked the knife out of his hand, whatever. Same thing with Birdie, if she was just going to come out of nowhere and do that. So it's just a bit of business to give the sacrifice of Birdie that I assume we'll pick up with this in the next episode, and Singh isn't going to be like, my stabbing days are over.
Well, you're saying that a giant ex-football player could take out a scientist who's barely holding up a knife is what you're saying? You expect me to believe this?
Shaking like his Ebenezer Scrooge on Christmas Eve.
Well, and I also don't know if you know how knives work, but you can stop at any point the stab.
Not once you get going.
No.
It could be an automatic finish. Some of those knives are automatic finish knives.
That's the way it made it seem. Is like Singh's just like, all right. The hand is slowly flying forward. He's like, I don't know where this is going to end up.
I can't stop it. Yeah.
It ends up being, it's like Gus, Jepp, Birdie. I was like, how long's his arm? Is he going to stab Gus?
He could have kept stabbing. He could have gone through a shish kebab.
There was a moment where I wondered if Jepp got stabbed too, and I was like, I don't think.
That'd be great. That's very funny.
That would be awful.
And it's touches Gus's forehead through Birdie and Jepp. He's like, this is my worst
like the
nightmare.
Deadpool where he's shotgunning the dudes.
The thing that I wanted to say is it worked emotionally at the same time. Like, as much as I'm making fun of it, and as much as I was like, my logical brain is doing one thing, my emotional brain was doing another, because it is devastating that Birdie dies after just reuniting with Gus. It is devastating that we spent a whole episode thinking Jepp is going to die, only for somebody else to take his sacrificial moment. It's so sad, and I don't know how it's going to pan out or impact the action of the final episode.
Yeah, well, because I had two big thoughts on that. Like, I feel like it's the next big move in our fairy tale logic, sort of underlying play here. Like, it doesn't quite make sense that Singh stabbed and Birdie was able to get in front of all that stuff, but it does make sense from a fairy tale point of view, from like, oh, this is the tragedy that, like you're saying, Alex. The other thing is, I think there's a destiny factor here where Birdie actually agrees with Singh. It's just in some capacity, and so like the way that he wants to save everyone, she's sort of like, humans, maybe a time has passed. There's the Caribou Man factor. There's all these philosophies coming together, and it's like Singh's like, I will save humanity no matter what the cost, crashes in with her philosophy and sort of erases both of them, I feel like, from the final factor here.
Which, if Gus does have a future, really sucks, because if Jepp is dying from a gun wound, who's going to help raise Gus? You know what I mean? Because now he lost his mom, and he might also lose Jepp in this next episode.
Well, he probably will, but the whole point of the show is him growing up, and I think he is currently at the point where, like, frankly, he could have gone into that cave on his own and probably been totally fine and figured out the whole thing, because that has happened in previous episodes. He didn't need Jepp or Birdie there necessarily, other than as expository devices. Yes, Pete.
I'm sorry, maybe I missed this. In this world that we're is it as soon as you get old enough, you just shank both your parents and say thanks, and I got it from here?
Shanks,
is that
what
thanks?
That's what we say.
Yeah, shanks.
It happens on Shank's Giving when everyone's...
Thank you very much, Miss Libby.
By the way, I know you're casting doubt on this. Just out of curiosity, what are your feelings on Wendy this episode, Pete?
Oh my God, I'm so glad, because Wendy is on fire. I mean, she saves the day. She, of course, living in the shadows. You can't shoot her. You can't see her. She is just unbelievable. And I mean, what an app. Also sticking up for her sister when that moment where she's like, yeah, she's been like stabbing the last men all up until this adventure. So she knows what she's doing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I like all of that stuff. Like the whole Siana, like Becky, Wendy, where they're like, let's make a plan. Let's drink some, let's get fucked up on some whiskey
First,
while we're working
get some
outside.
courage juice. We're gonna need this.
They go hard. They're having fun, and then they hide in very obvious places, but are not seen because, like Pete's saying, they dwell in shadow.
Living in the shadows.
I will say, with my son, we've been playing through the Batman Arkham series, and this is very similar to what they do there, where Batman's like, I'm hiding right behind this car, and there's a guy right over there that doesn't see him. So yeah, I agree with you. Wendy is the Batman of the Sweet Tooth universe.
Yes, she is.
I will say, to contradict or, at least follow up on a conversation that we had in the first or second episode, we finally know what the payoff was for that whole scene where they were discussing the power issues between the snowplows and the greenhouse. That pays off big time this episode, which I really did appreciate, particularly because we spent so much time talking about that. I was like, oh, okay. They actually do need to manage the power there. That is a crucial point of what's going on.
It really it made that scene where they're like, hey, lady, come on, you got to power the snowmobiles or the greenhouse. You can't do both. All right, I'm about to die in a couple minutes. It really brought all that into strong relief because it becomes huge at this moment.
Yeah, I do also wonder why they built the Outpost having countdown to power shutting down, like an automated version. That's, helpful, I guess, in this case.
I think it comes with it. If you get that kind of thing, it comes with the countdown.
You don't think you need to pay for the upgrade?
No. I think the newer models, the newer models standard countdown.
I like to have that on my cell phone, on all of my sort of stuff.
That'd be great on the cell phone. Yeah.
5 minutes dying. To shut down.
I'm curious. The thing is, the plot has changed a lot, but now we have everyone racing to the cave. Is this vehicle going to just roll through the cave? It's pretty
I'm not
big.
Sure what the deal with the beast is. Like, obviously,
how's the vehicle going to skip over the rocks? You know what I mean?
I don't know. I guess so. Like, maybe the opening is big enough, or the point
maybe it'll come around the other way and just blast open the door.
Yeah, it could go through over the top. There's clearly some sort of light source coming in from the other direction.
Yeah, to shine right on that antler tree. Yeah,
so maybe it'll bash through that, like in Madam Web when they come into Times Square. You guys know.
What do you guys think about the revelation that ghost caribou are real and the ghost caribou saved Gus?
The stag.
I do think that potentially points to Singh vastly misinterpreting his vision, because he saw a dead Gus in front of the cave, and what we see there is a skeleton of a deer in front of the cave.
Not a dead Gus, a carcass. You know what I mean?
Wow. That's really good stuff. That's good stuff. And just so you know, guys, we did 7 different takes of that. That was the one. Then we cut that one in. That was the best one.
Because our editing work is just
perfect.
Oh, it's immaculate.
Heavily edited.
So heavily edited.
But I do think Singh's vision was telling him, go to the cave with Gus. You're going to see this deer carcass, per what Pete is saying. And that is what it was indicating to him. It wasn't to kill Gus in front of this cave or anything like that. So it's Singh incorrectly interpreting his visions and potentially, obviously, like he killed Birdie, but I think he's going to still take it wrong and probably pay in some way by the end.
I feel like his vision, his science brain has been shattered over the course of this series, and now his spiritual destiny brain is, I think, going to be shattered from killing Birdie by accident. I think we're going to see Singh fall off a cliff at the beginning of the next episode.
Wow. I don't think we're going to get out that clean where he just falls off and then we're just kind of...
I don't mean an actual cliff. I mean an emotional cliff. I think he's going to sort of come apart at the seams.
He's going to fall off some dude named Cliff, is what you're saying.
Yeah, Cliff Clavin from TV's Cheers.
Sweet. Really on the puns this episode, Pete. I do think we're going to see some sort of punishment for him. He's turned the corner into full-on villainy, and I have no sympathy for him whatsoever. On the other hand, I continue to really like what they're doing with Rosie. I thought there were some great conversations in this episode. Her talking to her sister and her sister talking to her about, I think you mentioned this before, Justin, but trading her freedom for safety. or whatever the phrase was, I thought was really good. She's clearly conflicted through all of these things, but still a stability. Bad guy at the stability, yes, at the same time. So Kelly Marie Tran continued to do a great, very nuanced job. There's a lot going on, like the muscles around her mouth, like it's holding a lot of emotion there that I really appreciate.
And I think it's interesting that she is still pretty strong on the villain track. I thought she was going to be coming around a little bit more, and I don't know now. I don't know exactly what we're going for, because the tone change. Her sister is like, hey, you don't need to be this way, essentially. And she's like, yes, I do. And I was like, oh, not what I expected out of
Well, she did kind of put herself into this mode of like, mom's gone, I'm in charge. And when you're in charge, you're cold as ice. You do whatever it takes to get it done. And she's kind of in that mode. I just was hoping that like maybe in this plan where we're kind of like doing these things, I was thinking like maybe the Arctic Fox could talk to the Hound Boys. And maybe kind of like, you know, instead of it being like they're just monsters, like if they take off the mask and maybe kind of talk it out a little bit, you know what I mean? But doesn't.
Well, as we know, Nuka can do literally anything. And she remains undefeated. It's funny you think Wendy's such a shadow. Nuka literally is like, you need something? And then she produces it like Felix the cat. It's amazing. She
and
pulls
then
shit
disappears.
out of nowhere.
She wasn't around for the fight. You know what I mean? Like she disappeared. Now she was like, I'm just going to put on some tunes and jam out a little bit. But speaking of tunes, you guys had to kind of get choked up a little bit when Mom started singing to Jepp. I mean, come on. That had to have gotten to you guys, right?
Sure.
God damn it. You guys are cold as ice.
I more appreciated REM banging us in the beginning.
Oh,
that
yeah?
was great stuff.
I agree about that. I was very happy about the REM. I did like the singing scene. I thought Jepp having a panic attack in the middle of a bunch of
he's claustrophobic and also like don't throw a flare into a frozen room and then be like, as long as it's still frozen. It was driving me nuts. And then Jepp finally calls it out. And I was like, God damn, man, come on.
Yeah. Especially when they were so good at testing ice minutes before the rock. They waited a minute for the rock to fall, and then
really
they
nice
to forget.
shot though. I will mention Jim Mickle, who created the show, directed this episode, and there was a really nice shot there of the water falling on Gus like a tear, which I thought was really beautiful. Throughout there was a lot of beautiful images there, but that one struck me.
Well, and just in general, I thought this was a great episode directorially. The Goonies reference, I feel like we got that great lot of like 80s movie style action here, both in the story and the way it was made.
You talking about when Gus was talking about his wish and he was like, this one's mine and I'm taking it back?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm taking it all back.
It was when Jepp said, Baby Ruth. That really reminded me of Goonies.
Pete's mad about that. But I was going to say, when Zhang arrives, it felt very like the villains from E.T., like these like sort of faceless people rolling up to cause problems for our band of kids. Like the references are really nice, both visually and storytelling.
It was funny how Zhang was like, too late. I was like, damn, that's fucked up.
Yeah, she's nasty.
Yeah.
Well, and all the shots, too. I mean, just while we're talking about the look of it, as they're going to the cave, shooting in a snowy background like that, and like we've talked about nearly every episode, it looks like a fairy tale Alaska with the snow and everything. It doesn't... It almost... I don't know if they actually shot it in the snowy wasteland of New Zealand or they shot it on a soundstage of the volume necessarily, but like it feels like old school soundstage work.
Yep.
But plussed up a little bit with digital effects, and there's beautiful sky in the background, the snow lightly falling, everything.
Love
just
that.
Really, really beautiful, great stuff.
Yeah, one final sort of visual compliment, like the scene when Becky sees Jordan and tries to talk to him, and then his hand gets air nailed, which I thought was very cool.
Oh, yeah, that was fun.
And then the fight that breaks out after that, the camera does this cool thing where it sort of goes back and forth. It shifts, like POV, shifting sides and finding different fights. I thought that was really, I haven't really seen that before, something so without cuts, so cleanly, like jumping back and forth. And that felt very visceral, like, oh, I'm in the middle of this and I'm looking back and forth and it's like chaotic. I thought that was great.
Yeah, the choreography on that was really impressive.
Just fun fight scene overall.
Yeah.
Like it struck me again, something that we've talked about a little here on the podcast, how much the story has changed over the course of 3 seasons, that they're like, we got to take back the Outpost, a place we didn't know about until the first episode of this season. But it felt big. It felt exciting. I loved watching everybody rally. It was super fun.
Also,
Any
also,
other notes? Yes, Pete.
I just want to say it was funny because I was like thinking to myself, like, if you have the clicker, I don't think the dog boys are going to turn on mom. You know what I mean? So I was kind of happy when the clicker didn't work because I was like, if she's right there, you know what I mean? They're not going to just be like, well, they have the clicker. So I don't know. I kind of liked how that was a fun kind of feint, if you will.
Well, I thought that it was funny that they assume that the dog boys are dogs, and I was like, they're also boys, and like I was surprised for that you would make that mistake because they're hybrids, not just like and while they are trained to get active on the clicker, the whole point here is that they're hybrids. So it's an interesting mistake, and I hope that maybe comes through at the end when however we resolve the Rosie and the dog boy stuff.
Well, that's fun, Rosie and the dog boys. I just wanted to say, like, when the fight started happening, I was really holding out hope that, like, all of a sudden the place was going to shake, and then out from the middle comes Bobby with, like, 2 Uzis and just mowing people down, you know?
Yeah.
But it didn't happen.
I'm sure everybody.
If we see Bobby next episode, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah,
I think we're going to see... Because I have a couple of things
I
to say
wanted to
before
see,
predictions.
were there any other notes about the episode we want to talk about? Then we'll get to predictions, then the candy.
Yes. Let's just skip the candy. Mike and Ike's.
Oh, come on,
necessary.
dude. I do think that even though I got duped this whole episode, I felt good about it and wasn't like mad. So sorry. Okay, go ahead.
This majorly felt like a finale through the entire episode, I thought. So really well done that there's a lot more left to do. Very excited. Love Birdie complimenting Jepp's parenting. I thought that was a funny, sweet little moment. What I love about the dog boys is that they move like Jeff Lemire drawings. When they're it's so straight out of the comic book in a way that I'm struck by every time I get to see them actually sort of crawl, full straight leg crawling, like just like Jeff draws them in the book, which is great. I can't believe Pete didn't shout out Wendy with a full Molotov cocktail moment.
Yeah, that's what I said when she was blowing up the place. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then all of Gus's, at the very end, I feel like what the point here is, like, all of Gus's hopes, all of the, like, fairy tale, I'm the character, it's up to me, I believe in myself, Jepp believes in me. All of that hope comes crashing down at the end when Birdie dies. And he's there. And I just feel like that is where it's going to crystallize Gus's superpower of it. Through all of that, he's still going to emerge as the open-hearted hero, I think.
You think so? I'm wondering if it's going to twist and he's just going to grab that axe and just start mowing everyone down.
Yeah. Well, I guess those are two very clear predictions.
Yes, that seems consistent with the rest of the show.
I'm just saying that, like, you know, if your mom dies in front of you, you know, it might change things.
What about Bambi? Have you seen Bambi?
No, I've never seen it.
Oh, shit.
Bambi
Never mind.
fucking rampage.
I've seen Rambo, though, and I hear they're similar.
Yeah, Bambi, Rambo. Same.
Bambi.
I
guess we moved into the prediction part. I did want to mention one thing for the first scene that I forgot to mention earlier, though. Love the faux football music that they play at the end when Jepp grabs his helmet. Like, it's really rousing. They did a really good job of the score there. And also, I'm surprised you guys didn't mention the announcer who talks about Jepp's final game is a football guy. I forgot his name. But he's a football announcer. I thought it was Jim Bickle, so I watched the credits and I was like, oh, that's a name I don't know who it is. And I looked it up and it was like professional football announcer. So
do you don't remember it at all?
No.
Oh my God! Now I gotta look it up.
Joe Buck.
Namath?
Joe Buck.
Was it Joe Buck?
No, it was not Joe Buck. It's like an R. Ross or something. Ross
from Friends.
Yeah,
Ross
Rachel. Yeah. Ross Rachel. Anyway, talking about predictions for the final episode, I do think on the Rosie front, I'll throw that one out there first. There is a non-zero chance the Wolf Boys end up eating or tearing apart Zhang on her order. I think she might survive and like head off into the wilderness with them or something like that. I'm still pretty bullish on maybe seeing James Brolin as old Gus telling this story.
Also, when Jepp started doing the voiceover at the start of the show, I was like, well, if they're not going to bro me into this episode, they're going to go with the Jepp, then he's definitely done.
Yeah, if they're not going to bro you in, you're going to bro right out.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Oh, you've already broken into the candy. I see what's happening. So you're done with your predictions. I mean, I think we're not necessarily going to get a complete wrap up on the whole sick hybrid thing. It's not going to be like the world is healed, but we will enter some sort of new stage, whatever that is. I do kind of think they'll pull out the axe from the tree and the tree will get healed. Though what that will do, I'm not 100% sure. And yeah, I think we'll get a wrap up of the Zhang thing. I think we might get a Will Forte cameo in some sense as well.
Oh, man.
And Bobby, we got to see Bobby.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think we are going to see James Brolin as old Gus, and I think we're definitely going to get the gang back together.
Down. Wait 1 minute.
We're going to get the gang back together at the end. I think Bobby will be there. They did reference him this season.
Yep.
Ross Tucker is the football broadcaster.
Oh, thank you.
I don't know who that is.
Maybe he's from New Zealand or something like that. All right. I think since Pete has opened the candy, why don't we move on? Talk about
Let's just
Mike
organize them.
Oh, great.
Is that part of the fun of Mike and Ike's organizing them?
Well, put them in different so
you put them in a pill case because they look like pills?
Mike and Ike were both pharmacists to start with, and that's how they designed this candy. So this is a fruit candy. They're fruit chewy. Cherry, lemon, strawberry, lime, and orange. And Justin, to mention you got...
Oh, yeah, you can have those boring-ass flavors, or you can get the Mega Mix from Mike and Ike, where you get all those 5 flavors and 5 more little bits of nonsense.
Yeah. Pete's already going to town on these. You don't like these, Justin, at all, right?
Well, I'll put them in my mouth. I haven't eaten these since I was living off of candy exclusively. It's crazy.
Right.
This candy looks like pills in a cartoon universe, or beads that you would put on a friendship bracelet.
I like them. Like, they're gummy inside. They're pretty fruity, which is nice. Obviously, there's no juice inside, but it feels fresh, like some fresh.
Red ones are great.
These aren't as bad. These are pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking of, when I first looked at these pills, of Now and Laters.
Oh yeah, those are bad.
Those are poison.
Those are like this, but licorice and candy shelled, and way worse.
Yeah.
No,
the ones I like a little better that I suggested but got turned down was hot tamales, which are the cinnamon ones. Those are great.
Those are awful.
Now, a little background on Mike and Ike's, because this oddly named. I feel like the real difference maker in this candy is the name. And I've done a little research here.
Whoa.
Wow.
And people claim
Weird for this podcast.
Yeah. Mike and Ike's came from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, what's up?
Shouts to PA. There used to be, where Pete lives near, the center of candy. You're moving closer to candy, is right?
That's right. Getting closer to Hershey, bro. The motherland.
There was a comic strip called Mike and Ike, They Look Alike, which ended in the 40s.
Mike and Ike, They Look Alike.
Or it may be referencing the Matina brothers, who were billed as circus dwarfs. They were 2 little people, and they were munchkins in the Wizard of Oz. And this author said that they became so popular that box candy was named after them. Could be Dwight D. Eisenhower, or a vaudeville song called Mike and Ike.
Huh.
Nobody knows the
Wait,
true
nobody knows? Like, you can't call up the people.
When I was growing up, I thought
Nestle here?
one of these flavors was Mike and one of these flavors was Ike, and I thought it had 2 flavors, but I was wrong.
Wait, the name of this company is called Just Born?
Yes.
Is this a part of the Born franchise?
No.
Yeah.
These are unborn fetuses.
Really? You went through that? You heard it in your head, and you're like, "Oh, I'm a
I
definitely."
couldn't stop it, man. I'm too amped up on candy.
Oh my god, that was.
Well, so what are your
awful.
favorites from the
Red.
flavors? Strawberry banana.
I'm gonna go straight against Pete here, and because he was railing on this one before the podcast began, I really like the orange. That's the strongest.
Yeah, because you
flavor to me.
like the taste of medicine.
It doesn't taste like medicine to me. It tastes like orange, but it definitely has the strongest flavor of the bunch.
Nope.
Lime's at the bottom for me, I would say. I don't like the lime here.
I have an orange one that's Mango Delight, and that one's good.
Whoa,
Wow.
so fancy.
You guys are going to want to get the Mega Mix.
Yeah, it sounds
Here's what I like
it.
about these. Just following up on Swedish Fish from the last episode, because the center has a very similar consistency to Swedish Fish, but it's the right amount, like the mini Swedish Fish, and the candy coating gives it like a little bit of a textural difference as well. Good stuff.
Agreed.
These are good.
These are
These
great.
are good.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah.
Real
I
contender.
can't imagine ever picking these up.
Well, imagine it because it happened.
I've never, up until now,
You're
I don't
eating.
think I've ever bought them on purpose, but definitely whenever I get one, used to get one on like Halloween, like a little box, I'd be like, ooh, give me some of that. Well, there you go. If you'd like to support this podcast and all the podcasts we do, patreon.com/comic book club. Also, we do a live show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. to Facebook and YouTube. Come hang out. We would love to chat with you about Sweet Tooth or candy or literally whatever. Apple,
One more
Spotify,
app.
Android, or the app of your choice to subscribe, listen, and follow the show at Comic Book Live. On Twitter/X, Comic Book Club Live. On TikTok and Instagram, comicbookclublive.com. This podcast and many more. Until next time, the last time, the Candyman Cad.
Wow, the grape soda is a real controversial pick.
Wow.
Just checking, Pete. How's your knee doing? You all right?
Dude,
You
I'm
need me
not
to stop
yet.
by.
Bad
Me to stop by.
stab, slow
Dude,
stab.
don't
I'm
go
gonna
to my
start. I'm
house.
gonna start
This is the only
stabbing
one
him.
I got. This is the only knife I got.